Hello everyone, welcome back to the Pokemon World Cup. We are still in the group stages here, the second game out of 3. I have unfortunately taken a heavy loss in the first game, a 4-0 loss to Robotnik, putting me somewhere lower down the table. But we have 2 chances to redeem ourselves. The first of them is coming up right now. It is a match between myself, NBZ, and P0KEM3N. Now, of course, as with everything else in this tournament, everyone has the selection of 9 Pokemon to choose from, 6 with which they can play in each match. And this time I decided I was going to change my tact a little bit and get some different Pokemon up in here. So let's take a look at what I'm bringing and what my opponent has on his side. So here we have my team. As you can see, what I've decided to do is keep Magcargo and Mantler because they are pretty much cores of the team. You know, they're good defensive Pokemon. I need Stealth Rocks, I need that Intimidate, I need the physical bulk. They are sticking here. What I also brought was Haunter because he is probably the most powerful offensive threat and he can be so quick and get stuff out the way, knock things out quickly, so he's there. But what I've done is replace my Rain Core. Now before, my Rain Core was with Burnett, who set up the Trick Room in the rain and then gave the opportunity for either a quick sweep with Beartic or a Trick Room sweep with my Clamperl. So all of those 3 kind of work in tandem. So I decided, you know, putting one of them in on their own isn't really going to make a lot of sense. So I took all 3 out, I replaced them with the final 3 Pokemon I have on my roster, who are Onyx, Chimecho, and Emolga. Now, the interesting thing about Onyx is even though he's at the back and he looks to be more an offensive Pokemon similar to Magcargo, I'm actually rolling an offensive variant. Yes, I am using a Rock Polish set, which I hope will be able, with, you know, support from the Reflect from Mantler and with Yawn support from my Magcargo and everything else, and even Taunt and Encore from my Emolga, to eventually get a point to which Onyx gets set up, he gets the Rock Polish going, his Sturdy lets him live, allowing a Lychee Berry to come into effect, and he sweeps with a combination of Flail and Earthquake and Stone Edge, and that is really what we're looking for here. So Onyx, prime position, ready to sweep if possible. That's what I'm looking to do. Then, in the center of the field, we got Chimecho. Real great Pokemon, real great user-friendly Pokemon to just spread the love with the Heal Bell and get some Wish going. Actually, I believe this isn't running a Wish set. I think it's just a pure Recover set. So, maybe no Wish support going around, but I do have the Heal Bell to help people out. If Haunter, for some reason, gets paralyzed, that thing is ready to swoop in and get everything going. But generally, a more specially defensive Pokemon, hopefully switching in to take those hits, and that is how that little bell is going to ring a ding ding. So the final Pokemon, Emolga. Now a lot of people are going to be using Emolga in this tournament because it's very fast and it's very potent, and it is really just a useful kind of Pokemon to lean on. So I have that thing set up with Encore. It has U-turn, it's able to switch in and out. And really, a bit more support here. Much more of a support set than a full-out offensive Emolga. And I do really generally seem to have that going on with my team. I have a lot of support with the back 2, Mantler and Magcargo, and then kind of up the middle and the front, we've got Chimecho and Emolga doing some more of that work. Really, the 2 things I want to lean on for sweeping through are Haunter and Onyx, and a combination of the other 4 are hopefully going to get those 2 to push things forward. So that's what we're looking to do here with this setup of guys. I hope that we'll have a team we can come up against and do pretty well. So let's take a look at what my opponent will be bringing. So, on the other side of the field, my opponent, lot of threatening and interesting and Pokemon that I have to really watch out for. The main culprit being that Furfrou and goal. Defensive powerhouse. Furfrou is really strong and really able to take hits super well. So the fact that it's being allowed in this tournament, I have a little bit of complaints about, but it's Nick's choice after all, so can't really do much about that. Furfrou, a pain in the ass. I'm going to have some way of using Haunter to get rid of that thing, hopefully. Maybe trap it with Encore and you know, slowly wear away at it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to pull something out of the bag. That thing is going to be a problem. Next up, we have Garbodor and Lunatone at the back. Garbodor, I'm thinking maybe some sort of spike setting up, maybe some Explosion, but that doesn't seem to be the case in the 5th and 6th gens, obviously, because Explosion isn't as powerful. But it could be a surprise there, so something to watch out for. Could potentially be horrible. Again, maybe running some Toxic going on. Status is what I need to be aware of. I have Haunter who can come in and take those, but you know, his switches need to be limited because he is offensive and he doesn't want to be taking unnecessary damage. Center of the field, we have Emolga, going to be a threat. Undoubtedly, that thing may be switching in and out and giving opportunity to the two men up front, Octillery and Raticate, both of which are relatively self-explanatory. I'm thinking Octillery probably running some sort of specs or scarf set, going to be kicking some powerhouses, some powerhouse moves, hose moves from its nose moves, you know what I'm saying. Raticate with some kind of poison orb or flame orb is going to be a threat indeed. So those are the teams on paper. Let's see how they work out when we actually get into the battle. So without further ado, let's kick off the second group match of this Pokemon World Cup. Alright everyone, welcome to the second group match of Pool A. This is myself against P0KEM3N, and hopefully things will go smoother this time. So I'm going to lead off again with Magcargo. Seemed like a solid thing to go with, but from the off really kind of put me in a bad position because he decides Octillery is his best lead and certainly makes me have to switch into something to take that special hit. Unfortunately for me, as well as Chimecho can usually take these hits, it is not going to be able to take a Surf from an Octillery that well. It really does look like this thing is running some choice specs. It's doing a lot of damage and crits me with a second. I can't really switch, really unfortunate. Chimecho put in the team to kind of be that glue for the rest of them, but not really holding it together, unfortunately. So I switch into a Emolga here, hoping that I'm going to be able to get off some solid, you know, threat with the electric move. Decide instead to go for the air slash, predicting the switch. Ends up going to the Emolga of his own, which means I am going to want to get out of there. I don't want to be messing around here. Emolga versus Emolga is usually a bit of a dry matchup where things can kind of come to a very stalling halt. So I'm going to go into something which can hopefully take it on. That is my Mantler. The best thing to take a special hit at this point, with Chimecho now going down. As you can see, not taking it well though. Mantler, as great and grand as he is on the special side, not a huge amount of prowess there, but does live with over half, has the lefties to kind of build himself back up, but he is going to come back. He doesn't want to take another one of those air slashes. In comes my own Emolga, expecting the second air slash to come, but double switch happens into the Furfrou here. Furfrou, again, as I said, big threat at the beginning of the match. I do not want to be messing around with it. I want to get as much damage on it as early as I can as possible, and that is what I'm going to do. Chip away with air slash, get a good chunk off as it U-turns into a Garbodor. A Garbodor, a very interesting Pokemon. As I said, many possibilities for this thing. Could be all-out offensive, going for gunk shots. It could be, you know, a spike setter-upper, a toxic user. Turns out it's gonna throw a bin at me through the sky, and holy shit, Emolga almost taken down by that living Clutchly on 21. A little bit of damage for that, but not enough, and not really what I wanted. Unfortunately, the air slash doesn't do quite the amount that I'm happy with. Very bulky team, it seems, on his end. Lots of things that can take hits, and it means I'm just going to have to chip away. Air slash seems to be doing a decent job of that. But I make a switch back to Magcargo, thinking ample opportunity. I can take all the physical hits here to set up my stealth rocks, maybe get a yawn going, put something to sleep, and then force myself into a situation where I am able to get my Onyx in, set up a rock polish, and start doing some flail sweeping. I would prefer it to get it in on something like the Octillery, maybe set up a rock polish on the switch to Octillery, take a Surf, and then flail, and then proceed to rampage through. What happens is Garbodor doesn't stay in, seeing it's a losing battle, to try and drain punch my Magcargo. Ends up pulling the switch into Lunatone, which I thought would be a defensive Stealth Rock user myself, thinking it would stay in. I go for Yawn. It ends up being the same trick that I'm trying to pull, with using a slow rock type very much in disguise to stealth his way in there with rock polish and be fast and sweep, and that seems to be the A game there. But it looks like at this point not going to be wanting to stay in to take the Yawn. Lunatone, a main sweeper on his end, probably for the end game, for the late game, and wants to keep it you know, healthy and not asleep, which is why it makes the switch into Furfrou. Now, if I can get this Furfrou to sleep, things will be a lot easier. It means I won't have to deal with him trying to set up some defensive stuff with his Cotton Guard or whatever. It means I won't have to deal with more poison happening, and that's really what I'm going for. I do Lava Plume here, kind of hoping not to get the burn because I would like him to go to sleep, but I wanted some damage on that thing anyway, and going for the special side is really the best way to go. Its ability makes it so hard to get any sort of relevant damage in on the physical end, so special is how we are rolling, and it turns out that is what I'm going to be doing. So aside, at this point, Lava Plume again will just stay in and go for it. If we get a burn, hey, that's going to be great on something that switches in. If not, so be it. A little bit more damage. As I said before, chipping away. We just want to get these little tiny bits going on. Not only do I manage to land the Lava Plume on the incoming artillery, it crits and gets the burn. Now, of course, the burn not really going to be very relevant to Auxiliary himself, for you being a special attacker. Doesn't have any of his, you know, offensive prowess being limited, but it's nice to get that damage going and to allow myself to, you know, eventually take artillery down. Unfortunately, we get to the point where I can't switch into anything. I don't want a spec surf hitting any of my Pokemon, so I let Macago go. But he did a great job keeping goal, setting up rocks, putting stuff to sleep. He is stalled the team extremely well. So I go to Mantler, go for the coveted Thunderbolt. His signature right there is able to clean out the Octillery pretty swiftly, and thanks to the poison, put him in a very, very easy, revengeable range. However, in comes a big threat. Now, as I said before at the start, him and the Octillery, the Raticate, they're going to be the ones applying the most offensive pressure to my team, and I'm going to have to watch out for them. So I'm going to make the switch into Haunter here. Now, the rationale behind this is that the main move Raticate will be using is Sucker Punch. And so knowing this, and knowing that maybe he would have gone for a, you know, fighting or normal move on the switch in, I make the switch. Not only am I able to dodge the Sucker Punch by going for Trick, but I give him a Choice Scarf and I take away his Poison Orb, which means potentially later Haunter could come back in, give some other Pokemon the Toxic Orb, and force that thing to die a very slow and painful death. So a really nice combination of plays there from Haunter, really pulling his weight there on the support end when he's usually just an offensive powerhouse, doing multiple jobs. He's really fixing it up here. So at this point, you know, when I tricked him the thing, I don't want to get Sucker Punch. I'm going to switch to my Mantler, and, you know, eventually the Raticate decides to U-turn out, go to Emolga. Now, Emolga, as we had before, my Emolga, sorry, his Emolga versus my Mantler is going to be doing a good amount with Air Slash. I don't want to take that damage. I'm thinking if I switch to my own one, either I'll just about live and maybe get off some last-minute Tailwind action, or I'll be able to just fodder it off and bring in Haunter for the final KO. And that's what I do, fodder off my Emolga. It dies, but Haunter can come in, outspeed that Emolga, and Shadow Ball it to death. Again, we're facing up Haunter being a really good Pokemon for a lot of this guy's team. I'm going down with the Shadow Ball, doubling down with it, and it seems to be working well. Not only does it outspeed, clean out the Emolga, but one-shots the Lunatone from that range with the Stealth Rock support. In comes Raticate, however, and I do not want to be messing around with Sucker Punch, so I'm going to test the waters with a Destiny Bond, see how this goes, and then make the ultimate switch into my end game, which is, of course, as I've said multiple times throughout this game, my Onyx. Now, Onyx should be able to set up rock polishes here, outspeed the rest of the team, and, you know, hopefully, if something managed to put me down to my Sturdy, I'll get the Lychee boost, be able to flail my way to victory, but we'll see how that goes. So, of course, locked into Sucker Punch here, the Raticate is as it went for that move. And really going to be able to just polish myself, shine my badges. You remember back in the day on Diamond and Pearl, you had your badge case and you'd open it up and you'd shine those badges. You're going to just go at them because they get dirty over time if you let them. And that is what my Onyx is doing. He is going back into his pocket, polishing those badges up, making himself quick, speedy, glistening, and frightening. And that is exactly the plan here. So that's what happens. Raticate eventually dies to that residual poison damage inflicted upon himself, and now we come to the last two Pokemon. Garbodor here. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to at least two-hit KO this thing. I know I have a safety blanket with Sturdy, so if he crits me or whatever, then that's be fine, and I'll also get the Lychee boost. It turns out Drain Punch doesn't quite do enough damage. It doesn't even do half to Ganon here. My Onyx, who is really holding strong. He's physically defensive as hell, despite the fact that there is no investment going in here. But an offensive powerhouse he is. Earthquakes the Garbodor for a second time to take it out. And the final Pokemon is going to be Kyle Plume, which is, of course, his horrible Furfrou. Something which I didn't want to face down with a physical Pokemon, but I'm going to have to. As you can see, Stone Edge doing utterly zero damage, like literally nothing. And of course, at this point, Earthquake's not going to do as much. Flail isn't going to do anything because I'm really half HP and I need to be much lower for that to take effect. But I go for another Stone Edge, manage to land a crit, which still doesn't seem to do even that much more than a normal hit did. But all I really need is for Stone Edge to hit 3 times in a row. I've hit twice. Can it get a third? Ganon, the man, the master, the snake puppet form, is able to covet that power, bring rocks from the ground, crush Furfrou in its dreams, and leave me with the win. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. My game plan, switching up the Pokemon, seemed to have worked there, and I really enjoyed using these new guys. They were a lot of fun, and getting that Onyx sweep set up at the end was just beautiful. It was a dream, to be sure. One of a nightmare for the Furfrou, one might imagine, but that is just how the cookie crumbles. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be it for today. Thank you very much for watching. We will return, of course, with the last group stage match, see what we can pull out there, and hopefully be able to push our way past here, get into the knockout rounds. So until then, do leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. I would highly appreciate that, and let me know what you think of the team. And until next time, let's keep going. See you guys then.